Hey, I just wanted to show you how it was going with the obstacle masking. Um, I have improved it slightly so that it's far less likely for the unwanted stuff to come through. I also ran into a fairly serious issue. Um, I'll show you what that is with this. You see all these points out here? This is coming from the raw laser scan. Um, And these points are a well-known effect from laser scans when they strike the edge of a contour like that. And there's actually a filter built into ROS that will fix that. So I am actually filtering that laser scan before it's going to the cost map, because what was happening was this point right here would be marked as an obstacle and then it would inflate, right? So it would inflate however much distance that is. And as this thing drives around the center part, you'll see these little speckles absolutely everywhere. So it is absolutely necessary to filter those out because they were destroying my map. This is the filtered scan. The filtered scan only comes through so the settings I've got for this filter work fairly well to reject outliers. As you can tell, the masks are functioning way better than they were. Let me go over here. And I'll show you some of the settings that are specific to the mask. So I've got some more sliders here, and you can see it down here, the effect that each one has. I guess I'll start with this. This is the allowable deviation. So each one of these is identified as an object. So you have two of them here, and then you have a subset of laser points. And what I do is I average out the radial distance from the bottom center projection point. So this distance here, each point, I average that, and then I remove outliers by this threshold, which is the allowable deviation from the average. And this is kind of weird because the filtered laser scan does this already, but for whatever reason, I have to use the raw laser scan because this whole masking thing was not working at all. Uh, I think it comes down to the raw scan has an angle, or it has a reading for each and every angle, and the filtered scan, I think it literally just removes data. So it was just breaking all my stuff. So I'm having to do a little bit of redundant filtering there. But you'll see right here, if I decrease this to say like 15, maybe 10, see how it pops forwards, that point gets rejected. Because what was happening was it was getting a point of the barrel behind it, I believe, or it was just a spurious point. But having it set so low like this tends to cause problems, so I just uh, leave it cranked up to 20. And what I do to fix it is I pull the points forward. So this slider does that, the mask forwards bump. And the way it works is each one of these points is kind of in polar coordinates with the origin right here. So like, I'll take that point and then I'll measure the angle of it and the distance from that point, and then I will uh, change that point's coordinates so that this distance right here is some coefficient. So it's between 0 and 1. So if I slam it to 1, you'll see that let me get a little bit finer. Yeah. So you'll see that it puts it right up against the detected positions. And basically, that's the coefficient of this original distance. So when it's 1, it is that original distance. But when you decrease that, they come in radially forwards. Like that. And the other slider, so this is the padding angle. So you see how this is the last point, but it actually has another point here. I said I added a point to either end of the list, but I actually add two. I add one that is the same distance as this furthest point, and then I have some angular offset to add that point. And then I have an angular offset for the second point. So I call this the padding point, and I call this point in the very back right here the flare point. So the padding angle right now is 0.24, is in radians. If I decrease it to 0, you'll see that the point is basically pressed all the way up against it like that. And so if I increase that, it widens it out. And then the last slider is the flare angle, which is the angle from the projection point to this these outer points. And so if we decrease that, you'll see how it gets narrower and narrower, like so. You can also really increase that. It kind of starts to break things though if you go too far. But so yeah, that's kind of it. So it's just one of those. It's just like everything else. You just kind of slide it and hope it works. But the masking is working really well with these settings. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to share how it was going. I'll take it easy.